Today I'm going to show you how to do a 1-layer blunt haircut from home like a hairdresser in 15 minutes. Let's go. What you'll need for this project are hairdressing scissors, a cutting comb, sectioning clips, and a hairdressing cape. The only thing that I need to stress to you guys before we get into this tutorial is that you absolutely 100% need to get hairdressing scissors. All scissors are not made the same. If you try to do something like this with kitchen scissors, manicure scissors, craft scissors, your haircut is going to look terrible. Your hairdressing scissors don't need to be a fortune. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below to some hairdressing scissors that are reasonably priced that I like on Amazon, but you do absolutely need to buy hairdressing scissors in order to have any success at all with DIY haircuts. Tip number 1 is to make sure that the person whose hair you're cutting is evenly wet. You want to make sure that the water saturation level in the entire head is even, so there aren't areas that are drier than other areas. You also want to make sure that the hair is shampooed and conditioned before you start. You want to shampoo so that it's nice and clean and that there isn't any product buildup, and you also want to make sure they condition so that there's some slip to the hair so that you can get the comb through it. Tip number 2 is to make sure that your client isn't wearing anything bulky. If you have any bulk in here, when you take the hair to cut it, it's going to actually elevate the hair up. And when you elevate that hair up when you're cutting it, when you drop it, it's actually going to layer itself, but not in like a nice way. So make sure that your client or your family member is wearing like a t-shirt or something totally flat so that when you're cutting, you can keep your fingers pressed quite low against their body. Now you want to make sure to comb through the hair so that everything is totally combed out and smooth. I like using a little bit of leave-in conditioner if I have a hard time combing anything out. Tip number 3 is to make very perfect sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a middle part through the top, bringing it all the way back into the nape. Then I'm going to take the top of the head and I'm going to section right behind the ear and right behind the ear, so you end up with 4 equal sections. So as you can see here, you have 4 sections. We have a middle part and then parted right behind the ear, that's section 1. Then there's a middle part through the back, that's section 2, section 3, and then again, section 4. Now when it comes to cutting hair, your body position and how you're cutting the hair really does matter. So you want to make sure that your client is straight, that their shoulders are square, and that they are not crossing their legs. Because if they tilt their head in any way or tilt their shoulders, when you cut their hair, it's gonna look straight in your fingers, but when you release it, it's actually going to be uneven when they move back to a straight position. Now, your client's body position matters, but so does your body position. This is how I'm sitting when I'm cutting her hair. So I am sitting low, she is up, I am, my legs are open and my feet are planted on the floor, my shoulders are square, and I have a straight back. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna start in the back and you are going to take that clip out. You are going to make a horizontal section right at the nape, starting from the bottom, and you are going to comb that out. Now, once you have that perfect horizontal section, you are going to do the exact same thing on the other side of that part, and you're going to connect it. So it ends up looking just like this. You have a horizontal section that is equal on both sides, and you are ready to make that first cut here on the baseline. Now what you're gonna do is you're going to comb, and you are going to take these 2 fingers and you are going to hold the hair. Then you're going to bring the hair down with your comb to where you want to cut, and you're going to follow the line of your fingers and you're going to make that first cut. Now what you're gonna do is you're going to grab that side section with the comb, clamp your fingers down, move down the hair, and you're going to find that guide, see that? And you're going to cut and connect to that exact guide. Make sure that your tension is always staying the same and that you have a pretty strong tension. You don't want to be cutting the hair with like really low tension, because then you're going to get ripples, and when you smooth it out, it's not going to be even. Now you're going to do the exact same thing as you did the first time, and you're going to make horizontal subsection, release more hair down, and spin the rest of that hair out of the way. Move to the other side, connect it to that first side, horizontal, and spin this out of the way. So the parting here is going to vary based on the density of your client's hair. So this mannequin head is quite fine. She doesn't have a lot of hair, so the density is low, so I can do these bigger subsections. If the person whose hair you're cutting has really thick hair, like tons of hair in the square inch of scalp, it's really dense, what you want to do is make your partings moving up the head smaller. And the reason for that is you want to have control of the hair in your hands, and you want to be able to see your guide through the hair. If there is too much hair in your hands, you're not going to be able to see your guide, and also you're not going to be able to get through it with your scissors in a consistent and even way. That's very, very important. Your parting is going to depend on the density of that person's hair. You can already start to see what a huge difference a trim makes. Like, look at how ratty and crazy this is here compared to this, which has, you know, a lot more density through that baseline. If you're a beginner, you're inevitably going to start seeing sections of the hair drying. If you can see that, that section is starting to get dry. What you want to do is you want to spray that section. You want to re-wet that section to get the best possible, most even result. When you are working on these side sections, make sure you're not curving into the shoulder. You want to keep everything square. You want to make this like a line through the back this way. You don't want to curve in. If you curve in, what's going to happen is the sides are going to start to lift up and get shorter. So when you grab that section, make sure that you are straight and square instead of turned. The same goes for right behind the ear. This is actually quite important. It's tempting to curve your fingers like this, but you want to square them off. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the sides now. Now this is pretty important because this is the front of the hair, right? So what we want to do now is we want to take a bit of that back section and you want to slice it forward. So what you're basically doing is you are connecting the sections with a horizontal parting. Now you're going to take that section by the ear and the section that we've already cut, and you are going to again bring lots of tension and move it down and see what we're left off with. Oftentimes people have a lot of face framing and softening through the front of the hair. So sometimes when you go to connect this area, there's actually nothing to connect because as you can see, the front is already shorter than the back. Don't be tempted to cut into it so that all of a sudden the front hits the back, because you're going to end up with like a V formation, unless of course that's what you want. Don't cut if there's nothing there to cut, because this is your guide. This is the point you're cutting to. So if the side section is already shorter than the point you're cutting to, there's no need to connect it. If however my back section was here and the side was here, I would of course cut that to match the guide. You want to do exactly the same thing as the first side. So you want to grab that side section, connect it to the back section, and create one long horizontal parting. You're going to comb from that part that you already cut to the part that you did not cut. Add some tension, pull all the way down, and then connect the lines. Now you're at the point where you want to blow dry and straighten this really nice and straight, and then we can come back and I'll show you a few other little tricks that I have up my sleeve. Okay, so now that the hair is blown out, it's totally dry, and I ran a flat iron through the entire thing, I'm gonna show you how to soften out the ends and how to really perfect it. This is something I do quite often with clients, and they really love the textured end result. So I'll show you how to do it at home. It's actually quite easy. Now you want to go back to the same parting that we did before. So middle part to the ears and middle part to the side, and you're going to take that first section again. Now when you get here, you're going to do the exact same thing that you did last time. You're going to grab that section and you're going to drag it all the way down. And now you're just going to take your scissors and you are going to keep them vertical, and you are going to point cut and chip into that base. So what that's going to do is, instead of having a really blunt line at the bottom, you're going to end up with a little bit of softness and a little bit of texture down in the bottom, which is a really nice look for a blunt haircut. So you can see here how heavy this bottom line is. Now, if you like that, you can absolutely leave it. But if you want a little bit of softening, again, just layer through layer, go in and point cut and soften that line out. The key when you do this is to make sure that your scissors are completely vertical and they are not in any way horizontal. If you go in this way, you're going to cut a huge chunk of length. You just want to soften some of the weight without disrupting the length. Now the sides tend to be more hollow in general than the back because there's no hair from here to here, whereas there is hair from here to the nape. So when you come to the side, you don't really need to section it off. You can just take a look. And now if I look here, this is actually quite hollow. If I were to point cut this, we would end up with a hole, so we definitely don't want to do that. Let's check the other side, because sometimes the sides are actually a bit different. Sometimes people have a weaker side, especially depending on where they part. So on this side, I can soften this out very gently. Here is your end result. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you like this type of hair content, and if you want to learn how to cut your own DIY bangs, then check out this video next. I'll see you next week. Bye.